Greetings from the Jazz Cloud. I'm Richie Zellin, and today's lesson is specially dedicated to all those of you who are actively rock players and would like to use a jazzier approach during your solos without sounding totally out of context. That is, you don't want to play the same straight pentatonic throughout the entire solo, yet on the other hand, you don't want to resort to adding a bunch of complex 7-note scales for each chord change. So stick with me because we are going to learn how to use those simple pentatonics you already know as a starting point to develop a jazzier sounding scale that fits the context of almost any rock song, and of course the blues, and even some jazz tunes. Welcome back to the Jazz Guitar Channel, where I bring you ongoing lessons on everything related to the art of playing jazz guitar. Today, I want to show you how to specifically jazz up your minor and major pentatonics by just adding a few notes in key places. First, I'm going to show you how, along with some exercises you can practice to develop them, even using bends. And then, I'm going to demonstrate how this concept sounds over a couple of well-known rock progressions. And finally, yes, over a jazz standard also. And this might be a turnoff for the jazz purists out there, but what I am going to show you today is in essence what most smooth jazz players are doing. So without further ado, let's get started by using a simple A minor pentatonic. And in the spirit of rock and roll, I'm using a Strat today. And I'm also going to assume that you know your basic minor pentatonics at least. Your A minor pentatonic, the first box. And of course there's other boxes and fingerings. Okay, so that's the regular pentatonic, as you know. Now, we're going to add some chromatic passing tones. And all we're going to do is add them wherever we have a whole step in the scale. So if we go down to the 6th string and start out, the second note is actually a third away, so we're not going to add that passing tone in there. But between the flat 3 and the 4, there's a whole step, so we're going to add that note in there. Chromatic passing tone to the 4. And then between the 4 and the 5, we also have a whole step, so far we have. And we have a third between the 5th and the flatted 7, so we don't do anything there, but we are going to add one between the flatted 7 and the 1 or octave. So now we have, and if we play this in the next octave, and descending, now we can do that with the different boxes. So here, the 4, chromatic to the flat 3, 1, chromatic to the flat 7, 5, chromatic to the 4, chromatic to the flatted 3, 1, chromatic to the flatted 7, 5, chromatic to the 4, chromatic to the flatted 3. And that's going to really give it a new sound. It's just going to add a whole new dimension to your pentatonics, and it's going to sound kind of jazzy. Of course, it's bluesy, and you can use it anywhere you'd regularly use one of these pentatonics. And finally, let's do this box up here. A minor. So here, we're starting on the first string with the flatted 7, 5, then chromatic to the 4, chromatic to the flatted 3, 1, chromatic to the flatted 7, 5, chromatic to the 4, chromatic to the flatted 3, 1, chromatic to the flatted 7, and 5. So yeah, there's a little bit of stretching there, but do what you can. Okay, I want to give you some exercises so you can incorporate some of those classic bends, you know. So our bending points are going to be, here we're bending to the flat 3, and we're going to bend to the root, bending to the flatted 7, bending to the 5th, and finally bending to the 4. And what we're going to do is, right after these bends, we're going to continue the scale, and we're going to play a sequence of a total of 8 notes, including the chromatic passing tones. So for example, this first one, flat 3, 1, passing tone to the flat 7, 5, passing tone to 4, and ending on flat 3. So it's okay. The next one is going to be, we're going to bend to the root, chromatic to the flat 7, 5, chromatic to 4, chromatic to flat 3. Okay, then we're going to bend to the flat 7. So flat 7, 5, passing tone to 4, chromatic again, passing tone to flat 3, root, bending to the 5, chromatic to 4, chromatic to 3, 1, chromatic to flat 7. And finally, bending to 4, chromatic to flat 3, root, chromatic to flat 7, 5, 4. So and of course, you can do the same thing with each one of these boxes. I'm not going to get into that now, but you can download a PDF with all these exercises from my website. So if you're wondering what this sounds like in the context of a rock progression, I'm going to briefly improvise over a typical power chord progression over the 1, flat 6, and flat 7 of the key. In the key of A, this would consist of A, F, and G power chords. Next, we're going to apply the same concept to a major pentatonic, but before we do that, if this is your first time on this channel and you want to learn more about jazz guitar, I want to encourage you to subscribe and be sure to click on the notification bell icon so you will be notified of my upcoming lessons. And I've got good news for you. If you already haven't learned the major pentatonic, well, you really don't have to learn anything new. We just take this minor pentatonic and bring it down a minor third. So you do have to know some of your theory there. That would be F sharp. Play the same thing here. Of course, this becomes the root. This here is the sixth of the scale. So let's say you're playing a C minor pentatonic. Major pentatonic would start with that same shape, a minor third down, so that would be A. Now keep in mind that that first note is not the root, so the second note here becomes the root. This really would be the sixth of this new scale. See? Blends with that C major now. C minor. But many of you already know that. Well, let me go down here to A, and all I'm going to do is play the same chromatic passing tones as if I were playing the minor pentatonic. So now I'm visualizing this minor pentatonic in F sharp, but it's really an A major pentatonic. So there it is with the chromatic passing tones. So I'm really visualizing it as a minor scale and putting all those chromatic tones in the same place I would up here in A minor. Okay, that's all you have to do. And the same goes for all the other boxes, for all the other fingerings. So major, minor. So let's hear what the major pentatonic with added chromatics sounds like. In this case, over a 1-4-5-4 progression, which in the key of A would consist of A, D, and E chords. And this one is associated with countless early pop and rock songs such as Wild Thing, Twist and Shout, La Bamba, Hang on Sloopy, Louie Louie, and even Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. And the list goes on. And for our grand finale, I'm going to show you how you can use the minor pentatonic with added chromatics over a jazz standard. And I'm referring to Song for My Father by Horace Silver. This is primarily over the 1 minor chord, the flat 7 chord, and the flat 6 of the key. And before I show you this, if you're interested in using pentatonics over more jazz standards, please be sure to check out my 2-part video series on how to solo over rhythm changes using pentatonics. I will put a link in the info section down below. Well, that covers our lesson for today. I hope this has been useful, and if you've enjoyed it, please be sure to like and comment. Also, if this is your first time, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, and peace be with you. I will see you in the next lesson.